Our third witness today is Mr. Narinder Singh. As the president of the TopCoder community and chief strategy officer at Apereo, Mr. Singh is responsible for overseeing the company's strategy, technology, and crowdsourcing initiatives. A co-founder of Apereo, Mr. Singh brings nearly 20 years of software and business experience and plays a role in keeping Apereo at the forefront of cloud, social, and mobile technology. Prior to joining Apereo, am I pronouncing that correctly? Mr. Singh worked in the office of the CEO as a part of a corporate strategy group. Narinder began his career with Accenture at its Center for Strategic Technology. Mr. Singh holds a Bachelor of Science from Northwestern University and an MBA from the Wharton School. He has won numerous awards for business and technology leadership, including the San Francisco Business Times 40 Under 40 in 2013. I now recognize Mr. Singh for 5 minutes to present his testimony.
Chairman, ranking members of the subcommittee, I thank you for the invitation to speak before you. My testimony here today will seek to expand even your view of prizes and show how we can act bigger by thinking smaller. In 2006, myself and 3 others formed Apereo. Today, we have over 900 people with headquarters in San Francisco and Indianapolis. We've received numerous awards on Best Places to Work, Innovation Awards. We were named the World Economic Forum Technology Pioneer in 2012. TopCoder enables that. It's a community of over 620,000 designers, developers, and data scientists, and it's based on prizes. We use this community to crowdsource hundreds of projects for commercial companies across the world, including private sector organizations like Comcast and Ferguson. What we do is we break down large projects into smaller pieces, and we use prizes against each of those and hold mini competitions. As a result, we run 5,000 to 10,000 competitive challenges each year. Our average prize amount for these challenges ranges from a few hundred to a few $1,000s. For example, recently with TopCoder, Apereo helped the research organization of a large pharmaceutical company improve the performance of software that runs genome-wide association studies, or GWAS. GWAS is an approach to rapidly scanning markers across complete sets of DNA. We reduced the time it took for them to run this from 10 hours to less than 30 seconds. What's remarkable is that the core of this advancement was driven by a series of about a dozen contests with about only $50,000 in prizes. The firm plans to share this with the scientific community, and it'll completely change the way research is done with GWAS. In government, we've partnered with NASA and Harvard Business School to create the NASA Tournament Lab at HBS. This lab focuses on creating insights on the optimal design of contests and also how the federal government can be more effective in using them. So essentially, not only do we have to achieve results, but we've got a bunch of researchers from Harvard peering over our shoulders while we do it. So we've used this concept repeatedly of stringing together a series of smaller challenges to create some outstanding outcomes. So for example, we used a set of challenges to reduce the time it took for NASA to optimize medical safety supplies on space excursions from 3 hours to 30 seconds. We've created a mobile application for International Space Station that will help astronauts manage their nutrition and health, and it was developed through a series of 18 challenges for less than $60,000 in prize money, and it's in final testing for spaceflight now. We also just launched the NASA Asteroid Grand Challenge on TopCoder with Harvard and Planetary Resources to improve the detection algorithms of detecting asteroids. It consists of a series of 10 related challenges, and we hope for a similar leap forward in accuracy of the algorithms, and the total prize will be under $100,000. We've also worked with other government agencies through NASA's Center of Excellence for Collaborative Innovation. One of the projects was for the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services, seeking to modernize the CMS infrastructure for the state of Minnesota so that healthcare providers could register more easily. This project spanned 11 months, had more than 140 challenges on TopCoder, and the total cost, including labor, was about $1.5 million. Research from Harvard Business School and the NASA Tournament Lab shows that done through traditional approaches, it would have been $7.5 million, or nearly 5 times as much. I believe in large prizes and their capability to create entire markets, proven by my colleagues from XPRIZE. But breaking problems down allows for giant leaps forward to be occurred inside of existing markets. And by breaking problems down, we can increase the power of prizes to be applied to a much wider set of activities. To do so, we do need more scalable rules for government. For example, it appears in the current language of FIRST that it would require private sector judges to disclose their financials. For challenges from a few hundred to a few $1,000s, this is an onerous burden, especially given that, for example, all of our reviews are publicly available and often evaluated by a computer program. More than anything I've said here, the one thing I feel confident about is that the rate of change of advancement of technology will not slow down. 3D printing, robotics, biotech, artificial intelligence, and even wearables, many other domains are just getting started. More than ever, we will need the ability to quickly and efficiently tap into the right skills instantaneously. So the nature of our economic system is built upon a free market, and for a good reason. In most cases, it's the most efficient way. Crowdsourcing taps into the power of the market, but also democratizes participation beyond a few select firms that can compete in large institutions and allows anybody to jump in and try their hand. Crowdsourcing itself is an innovation, but in this context, even more importantly, it allows you to keep pace with innovation. I want to thank the committee for the opportunity to share my perspectives and would be happy to take any questions.
A couple key things that will make them be better, part of which I already talked about, marketing and media and recruiting teams. I think the other important thing is to not legislate a specific prize, right? You want to legislate the ability to do prizes and give them the tools, give the agencies the tools to do them in a consistent manner. But we want to make sure that we don't legislate a specific prize because, as I said, designing it, and as Donnie also said, designing it is really important. So if it's legislated that it has to meet these goals, those goals may be totally wrong. And the other thing that's important for the agency is when they put out an RFP or an RFI to design a prize, they also have to recognize that they can't put the goals in the RFP and say you have to meet these goals if you design this prize. Because you want to be able to throw out those goals and you want to find the right prize to design. So I think it's more, I think a lot of agencies are doing a really good job. NASA Centennial Challenges, DOE's done a great job. I think it's more just knowing what other tools fit within the prize tool that can help them be more successful. So nobody's doing a bad job. They're just not taking full advantage of the prizes.
Congressman, I would say there's a Yogi Berra quote that I like. It's, in theory, there's no difference between theory and practice. In practice, there is. And it kind of applies to how things tend to work. For example, we've been very effective with running challenges with certain agencies. However, a lot of times the overall preparation, some of the things that Chris was describing, require us to then sometimes get in a situation where we have to contract with the government in a normal way, right? And for us as a commercial organization, we don't focus on government as a sector. We looked as the challenge as a way of saying this is a more efficient mechanism of engaging with government. But if we then get pulled into the rest of the cost-plus world of how things work, our tendency is to say, you know what, let's go look for commercial customers or let's find some third party to try to deal with the government for us. And so we end up in a situation where unless we've got really great support from an agency that's willing to navigate all sorts of rules for us, that we'll choose not to enter and engage in that area because of the friction of the engagement.
Mr. Singh, you had talked about the how you separate bigger, you separate it into smaller pieces. What you are trying to then pull together to come up with a solution to a problem. Does the federal government, have you seen agencies doing that, or could it be done better?
Yes, so the challenge I described with NASA that we just launched around detecting asteroids, like who doesn't want to find asteroids? So that challenge is actually already broken down into 10 parts. And so the first 3 or 4 parts of that is to define the problem statement. We do kind of a test data set with the community, so we make sure the problem is set up right. We break it down into certain components. And then the main event, so to speak, is like the 6th or 7th challenge along the way, and then there's a refinement. So we've done that pattern with NASA and the NASA Tournament Lab at HVS quite successfully, and they've actually gotten to where they understand how to break those down as well or better than we do now. And so it's a matter of, I think it gives us more surface area. It's not a way of discovering a new industry, but it's certainly a way of exponential leaps forward in existing problem areas.
And are there areas that you think, Dr. Moe said that you think this could be used better in healthcare? Are there areas that have not, other areas that you think the federal government has not, federal agencies have not gotten into, that they can use these prize competitions in? And are there areas that the federal government probably cannot serve a good role in, that these prize competitions will not serve a good role in trying to solve?
That's to me. So I think a couple things. Right now, the federal government is using prizes 0.0000001%. So there's certainly opportunity for expansion, without a doubt. I think that the key piece that I was saying is that I believe in what X Prize is doing with creating these large incentive pools. I think the micro challenges give you an opportunity to increase the surface area of the kinds of problems government can work on. So all of a sudden, it's not just the exponential pieces, but it's building applications, it's building things that order of magnitude cheaper or faster. And so it gives you an opportunity to apply it in more places. And I think that's a great compliment. There's certainly areas where this will never work, particularly where the data is too sensitive or there's information where it's so difficult to break the problem down that you can't do it. So there is limitations, but I think we're not even close to approaching those yet. So there's a lot of opportunity to expand and try this in other places.
Mr. Frangione and Mr. Singh, engagement in STEM education is critical for the future competitiveness of our nation. Many experts have testified before this committee and said that success in the STEM fields must start at an early age and be seen as something achievable for all students. How have or might your organizations use prize competitions as a tool to promote STEM education and to engage diverse groups of students in STEM?
Thank you, Congresswoman, for the question. So obviously for us, it's the supply chain of our future, right? Not just as a country, as a company overall. And so a few things that we do to promote growth overall that we're looking to extend into the areas is that we run challenges for free on a weekly basis that draw 2,000 or 3,000 competitors. They take about 90 minutes. There's some code challenges, and they compete for readings and they compete for learning. Like, people are trying to get better. So these are not for paid prizes, but we invest in creating these so they're like applied challenges. So one of the things that we've done is we've run those in special ways for high school or college competitions as well. Later this year, we'll be making it self-service, so any high school or college computer science teacher can go and say, hey, let me run my own virtual competition against our data bank of 2,000 problems that have been accumulated over the past dozen years. So that's some of the things that we'll go through and do. That really addresses, though, the, I would say, post I've learned to code, for example, stage. We're not any further out, but it's really effective. I was at a high school technology conference called Tech Olympics in Cincinnati. It's one of the largest high school competitions in the country, and we ran a mini TopCoder tournament for the kids there. And it was exciting to see the winners and the like, and one of the things that really struck me with the computer science teachers is it was like, you know, we have to teach for a certain band, and this is an area that has so much spectrum of beginner to advanced that no curriculum in my school can cover all my students. So this is such a great opportunity for me to really be able to shuffle those people who've got a spark or interest in it, to be able to give them a way of learning and finding an outlet for their creativity regardless of how old they are or where they sit. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. I think there's a lot more that we could do. One of the particular pieces for us is girls in STEM. Last year we did a poster design contest for how to encourage girls in STEM at a young age. I think that's an area that we would like to invest and do more in the future.
Mr. Singh, you have a comment?
I was going to say, I think it works because markets work, and what we've shown the last dozen years because of technology, it's went from where you had to own something to do something to where you need access. And so, for example, if you're fans of hotels or car services, Uber and Airbnb are companies that have hundreds of thousands of units of capacity that they don't own, but because of technology they allow you to get to. And what this creates is the opportunity for leverage. And so today, what one person, what 10 people can do is tremendously transformed because of what technology's done. And with prizes, you allow that supply and demand of talent to find each other, and you give the opportunity for the market to work in an even broader way. And so I think that applies to every industry.
What about on an efficiency spectrum? We talk about the need for empowering American workers and American businesses to compete on a level playing field. Competition demands that companies are effective, that they are efficient in their operations. How do you think these science prizes like this, sponsored by the federal government, does that encourage marketplace efficiency?
I mean, from my perspective, absolutely, right? I mean, I think that there's obviously the two edges to that equation, right? It requires investment in kind of core skills. We talked about STEM. We have to have the raw materials that enable us to be the most efficient in those areas, but absolutely, it's actually ruthlessly efficient, right? It works and rewards the best outcome, and that's something that, in general, can save a lot of money, but also requires that we arm ourselves with the right tools to be able to participate in that kind of marketplace. So I'm not a public policy expert, but also I'll act like the government's a really big company, which I do know how to deal with. Right? And so what we tell really big companies is we say, look, you need to create some centers of excellence that allow for skills to be there, but you don't want to throttle our work through that. Because even big companies are too big for things to go through one central location. So centers of excellence that allow you to cluster experience and knowledge sharing are important, but you certainly don't want to throttle things through that. The other piece that we sometimes give advice to large companies is create incentives for people who do things well, right? So if in your context, if agency X does something well that receives an exponential return, well, guess what? You get to do more of that. And so what that does is it creates the incentive in behavior where somebody says, oh, it spreads around. We did something, it received this return, that led to this positive outcome. Now I want to go to the Center of Excellence and learn. So if that process is emulatable in the government context, that's something that has worked for large organizations looking to absorb new innovations.